So, students, this carcinogenesis means the induction of tumors, and agents which induce the tumors are called as carcinogens. So, the agents which leads to cancer is carcinogen, and the process of by which the cancer occurs is called as carcinogenesis. These terms are used for neoplastic proliferation of benign as well as malignant tumors. Though the word carcino implies cancer, so this carcinogenesis is generally used for the proliferations of benign as well as malignant tumors that finally leads to cancer. Other terms used synonymously with carcinogenesis. The carcinogenesis sometimes is also called as oncogenesis because of that oncogene that is the mutated proto-oncogen is called as oncogene. So that is also called as oncogenesis and tumorigenesis. Then carcinogens are a variety of extrinsic agents which are broadly divided into 4 groups. Chemical carcinogens or chemical carcinogenesis, physical carcinogens, mainly radiation, that comes under physical carcinogenesis. Then hormonal carcinogens, that is hormonal carcinogenesis, and biological carcinogens, generally caused by the virus. So there are 4 types of carcinogens, and there are corresponding 4 types of carcinogenesis. The first is chemical carcinogenesis. The first ever evidence of any cause for the cancer came from the observation of Sir Percival Scott in 1775. That was higher incidence of cancer of the scrotum in chimney sweeps in London than in general population. So this scientist found that the person who is working in a chimney practice, they have scrotum cancer more than in the general population. This invoked wide interest in soot and coal tar as possible carcinogenic agents and the possibility of other occupational cancers. So because in chimneys industry, soot and coal tar is mostly used, so these are actually again the chemicals which was causing the scrotum cancer. Okay, so the chemical carcinogenesis is the process by which the any chemicals which is causing the cancer is called as chemical carcinogen, and the process of formation of cancer by this chemical substance is known as chemical carcinogenesis. Then the stages in chemical carcinogenesis is the phenomena of cellular changes by chemical carcinogens. It's a progressive process, and it happens in 2 stages. The first stage is initiation and second is promotion. So that is the question they have asked. This question, once if you see the question number 12, explain sequential stages in chemical carcinogenesis. So this mainly you have to explain about the initiation and promotion. So chemical carcinogenesis generally take place in the 2 steps. The first step is called as initiation, and the second step is called as promotion of carcinogenesis. So what is initiation of carcinogenesis? Initiation is actually the first stage in carcinogenesis caused by chemical carcinogens. The change can be produced by a single dose of initiating agent for a short time. So these chemicals, carcinogens, their single dose can cause the cancer that is applied for short time, or through larger dose for long duration, though larger dose for long duration is more effective. So single dose for short time is not that much leads to cancer, but the larger dose of chemical carcinogens for a longer duration if you give, then it is definitely going to cause cancer. Chemical carcinogens acting as initiators of carcinogenesis can be grouped into two categories. Yeah. So the process initiation of the cancer is caused by the chemicals. So those chemicals are called as initiators of carcinogenesis. And this initiators of carcinogenesis, chemical carcinogens, again can be of two types. One is direct acting carcinogens or direct acting chemical carcinogen, and second will produce cancer indirectly, that is called as indirect acting carcinogens, or it is also called as pro-carcinogens. Okay, so the chemical carcinogens, especially the initiators which cause the initiation steps. This is the first stage of chemical carcinogenesis, can be of two types, direct acting and indirect acting. So these are a few chemical substances like alkylating agents, acylating agents. Alkylating agents are the chemical which transfer alkyl group, and acylating agents are those which transfer acyl group, that is CH3CO group is acylating agents, and alkylating agents those which denotes R group, which can induce cellular transformation without undergoing any prior metabolic activation. So what is direct acting chemical carcinogens? They are the one which will directly, in whatever form they are available as a chemical, in that form only they will lead to cancer. And for this direct acting carcinogens, any kind of metabolism or any kind of activation, prior activation is not required. Okay, so that chemicals are called as direct acting carcinogens. Whereas indirect acting carcinogens or pro-carcinogens, actually these are indirect. So first what is required is that there should be a metabolism of such chemical, and after metabolism they should give some chemical which is actually going to cause the cancer. So that's why this is called as indirect acting carcinogens. So they requires metabolic conversion within the body so as to become ultimate carcinogen, which is having the property of carcinogenicity. And what are those chemicals? It may be polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. It may be aromatic hydrocarbons, and it may be azodides. Okay, so these are the chemicals which requires prior metabolism in order to get activation and cause cancer. So polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and azodides comes under indirect acting carcinogens. Now in either case, following steps are involved in transforming the target cell into the initiated cell. Yeah, so even in the initiation, now the first chemical carcinogenesis, as we know that it takes place in two steps. The first is initiation and second is promotion. And this initiation step again is taking place into sub-steps, so that the target cell will convert into initiated cell. What is initiated cell? It is the beginning of the cancer cell. So initiation step is actually consists of sub-steps. In that the first is the metabolic activation, second is reactive electrophiles, third is target molecules, and then the initiated cell. Okay, so this is the steps under the initiation. So let us see one steps each time. So first is metabolic activation. So what happened? The majority of the chemical carcinogens which are available, they are actually the indirect acting or pro-carcinogens. Okay. So out of direct and indirect chemical carcinogens, the majority of chemicals comes under indirect acting carcinogens, and since it is indirect, that's why there has to be a metabolism, then only they get activated. So required metabolic activation, while direct acting carcinogens do not require this activation, because direct acting chemicals they can directly cause the cancer. Okay, so that's why the first step is metabolic activation. Most carcinogens are activated chiefly by the mixed oxidases of cytochrome P450 located in the microsomal component of endoplasmic reticulum or in the nucleus. So what happens for the metabolism? We have a group of oxidative enzymes which cause oxidation and cause the metabolism, and indirect carcinogens gets converted. So this is actually the group of enzymes called oxidases of cytochrome P450 and located in the microsomal component of endoplasmic reticulum or inside the nucleus of the cell. So this is the enzymes which is actually responsible for the metabolism of indirect carcinogens, so that it can become direct or it can become activated carcinogens. The activity of the enzyme system and potency of procarcinogens are affected by genetics and environmental influence. So this enzymes which is causing this activation and this indirect chemical carcinogens, actually they can be affected by genetics and some environmental changes, and stimulated by administration of drugs, and they can get stimulated by the administration of some other drugs like phenobarbital. Okay, so this enzymes and this indirect chemical carcinogens is actually get affected by some genetics, some environmental influences, and some administered drugs. In some circumstances, the procarcinogens, that is indirect chemical carcinogens, may be detoxified and rendered inactive metabolically. So they are telling that in some cases this indirect chemical carcinogens can be undergo for the detoxification, that is the removal of toxic substance, and after that it become inactive. So it's not always that indirect chemical carcinogens after metabolism it will only get activated. No, there are some procarcinogens after undergoing for detoxification it can become inactive metabolically. So in metabolic activation, what we need to remember is that we have to generally write about the one important statement, that is, out of direct chemical carcinogens and indirect chemical carcinogens, direct chemical carcinogens don't require any kind of metabolic activation, and it is the indirect chemical carcinogens which requires prior metabolic activation in order to cause cancer. And whatever the chemical carcinogens are available, out of that the maximum is available as indirect chemical carcinogens. So their metabolism and metabolic activation is required, then only they can act as chemical carcinogens. And for such metabolic activation, there are a group of enzymes like oxidase of cytochrome P450. So this kind of enzymes actually cause the activation or metabolism of indirect chemical carcinogens and can converts into activated carcinogens, then leads to cancer. So that is about the metabolic activation. Then the second, this is the second, that is reactive electrophiles. The two types of initiating carcinogens, that is direct acting and indirect acting, behaves alike following metabolic activation of the latter. So what happens on direct acting and indirect chemical carcinogens? So when there is a metabolic activation of indirect chemical carcinogens, and after that whatever we get it, so that activated indirect chemical carcinogens and direct acting chemical carcinogens, now they behave now similarly. Now they become the same thing after the metabolic activation of procarcinogens. These substances become electron deficient. So what happens after the metabolism? This become electron deficient. That is reactive electrophiles. So electrophiles are electrophiles. What is electrophiles? Electrophiles are electron-loving uh, substance, electron, and who will love the electron? Those who are positive. Okay, because electron is negative, and will love the electron? Those who are positive. So the positive things are called as electrophiles. Okay, so because the substance are anyway they are having lack of electron, and we know that if the electrons are lost, then it develop positive charge. So these are electrophiles. So this substance are going to act as now electrophiles, and it is going to bind with electron-rich portion of other molecules. And these electrophiles are less unstable, and they try to take the electron and try to become stable. So they will look for some part of the cell like DNA, RNA, and other proteins where there is more availability of electrons. So this direct and activated indirect chemical carcinogens, they are actually the lack of the electron, and they are acting as reactive electrophiles. So that they will target DNA, RNA, and other proteins where the availability of the electron is more, and they will snatch the electron from this structure and get stable. Then DNA, RNA, and other proteins gets damaged, so that can lead to cancer. So that is the second step, that is called as reactive electrophiles. Then the third is target molecules. And the primary target of electrophiles is DNA. Okay, so these electrophiles is their primary target is they are looking at DNA, and because of that DNA damage will take place, and because of that you can say that mutation can take place, that is mutagenesis will take place. And we know that in pathogenesis of DNA what is important is the mutation. Okay, the mutation of the DNA is the leading cause for the cancer. And then change in the DNA may lead to the initiated cell. Okay, so once there is a change in the DNA, then that cell whose DNA is changed, now that cell we can call it as now initiated cell, or some form of cellular enzymes may be able to repair the damage in DNA. And we know that there are genes which repair the DNA, so that DNA damage can be repaired also. So that's why we don't call those cell as a cancer cell, better we give a word as initiated cell. So the target molecules, so that's why it is called as target molecules, is going to act as initiated cell. Classical example of latter situation is the Xeroderma pigmentosum. Precancerous conditions. Xeroderma pigmentosum is not actually a cancer condition, but it is a condition just before the cancer condition. That's why it is called as precancerous condition, in which there is a hereditary defect in DNA repair mechanism of the cell. So this is the condition. What happened? There is defects. The person will not have the ability to repair the DNA. Okay, so that's where it is going to get precancerous condition that is called as xeroderma pigmentosa. Okay, so by damaging the DNA, the cell is becoming initiated cell, that is a target molecules. Then the fourth step is initiated cell. Now the target molecules where the DNA is damaged, the unrepaired damage produced in the DNA of the cell becomes permanently. Okay, so if the DNA is damaged, if the DNA damage is repaired, it becomes normal cell and it won't lead to cancer. But when this unrepaired damage produced in the DNA this become permanent only, what is the condition? If the altered cell undergoes at least one cycle of proliferation. So whatever the damage is taken place and that could not repair, so because of that damage, whatever the changes taking place in the cell, that changes is going to become permanent. If for that the cell must at least it has to go for one cycle of division, so that whatever the change and damage happened to DNA, that change is going to become permanent after the one cycle of cell division. This results in transferring the change to the next daughter cell, so that the DNA damage becomes permanent and irreversible. So once if it has gone for one cycle of cell division, then that change will become permanent and it cannot be reversed. Which are the characteristics of the initiated cell? So that is then we call that cell as initiated cell. And now this initiated cell are liable to act by promoters, and that is what happened in the second stage, that is called promotion. Okay, then these promoters will act on the initiated cell and then the cell will convert into the cancer cell. Okay, so the chemical carcinogenesis typically takes place in two steps, initiation and promotion. Initiation takes place in the first step, metabolic activation, reactive electrophiles, target molecules and initiated cell. Okay, so in metabolic activation, metabolism causes indirect carcinogens to become direct, and then after that both direct and indirect electrophiles after metabolism, they will act as electron deficient, that is electrophiles, and they will target the DNA, RNA and protein. And in target molecules, mainly the DNA gets damaged. Okay, and if DNA gets repaired, then it becomes normal. If not, then it leads to cancer. Then initiated cell means that unrepaired DNA in the cell, if it going for the one cycle of cell division, so whatever the change and damage takes place, that is going to become permanent cell, become permanent, and those kind of cell will be called as initiated cell. Now the cell is initiated. Okay, the cell is initiated, and on that now the promoters is going to happen. So generally this you can correlate this concept with general life, where what happens in the student life generally when the students are in 9th, 10th or PUC 1 and PUC 2. Till that time some students will be very innocent, don't know anything about movies and all. But what happens, sometimes these innocent students, if they get bad company, the students who knows everything, so that students is going to act as initiators, and they will take these innocent students to the movies and different places, beer bar and all. Okay, and now the slowly what happened, that innocent student is getting changed, and finally that student is initiated. Now he is exposed to all things which he was not knowing earlier. Okay, so now that first bad friend is act as initiators, So for that now, if that friend is not there, if somebody is now coming, okay, and he's again taking him, this innocent guy, to different places. So that second friends is going to act as the promoters. So that is the initiators and promoters. So promotion of carcinogenesis. Promotion is the next sequential stage in the chemical carcinogenesis. Promoters of carcinogenesis are substances. So we like initiators like direct acting and indirect acting chemical carcinogens. We have promoters of carcinogenesis like hormonal esters, phenols, hormones, artificial sweeteners, and drugs like phenobarbital. So these chemicals are going to act as promoters of carcinogenesis. So once the cell is initiated, now the next step is that this promoters chemicals will promote this initiated cell, and finally it leads to cancer. They differ from initiators in the following respects. So how these promoters are different from the initiators? The first is they do not produce change. Yes, this promoters is not going to produce the change. Second, they require application or administration, as the case may be, for sufficient time and in sufficient dose. So promoters, these promoters, the condition is that there should be a sufficient dose of the promoters for sufficient time. Like the second friends, the second bad friends, he has to take the innocent boys again to the different places for at least 6 months or 1 year. Okay, at the frequency of like 1-2 movies per week. So that this innocent boy who was initiated by the first friends will now finally will become a bad students by the second student, which act as a promoter. So this promoter in the sufficient dose and in sufficient time it has to be acted on. Then the change induced may be reversible. So the change which is caused by these promoters can be reversible, but the change caused by the initiators where it reached till the target on the initiated cells, that is not reversible. They do not damage DNA person, but instead enhance the effect of direct acting carcinogens or carcinogens. So these promoters are actually not causing by themselves any kind of DNA damage, but at least what they can do is they can increase the effect of direct acting carcinogens or indirect acting carcinogens. Their effects can be increased. So hope all of you are listening me, right? I'm audible? Can you all hear me? Good. So most of you can hear. Good students. Very good. So the fourth point, they are telling that these promoters are not actually going to cause the DNA damage, but they are going to increase the effect of direct acting chemical carcinogens and indirect acting chemical carcinogens. Fifth point, tumor promoters act by activation of growth factor pathways, leading to further clonal proliferation and expansion of initiated or that is mutated cells. Now here they are telling that these promoters, how they are going to promote, they take the help of a factor that is called as growth factors. So there are some growth factors which cause the growth of the cell, like transforming growth factor, and there are various growth factors. So these promoters cause the activation of these growth factors so that the initiated cells gets more proliferation and expansion of the initiated and mutated cells. So this is the five way by which promoters is going to convert, or it is different from the initiators. Okay, so initiation is a step by which the direct and indirect chemical carcinogens makes the normal cell to convert into initiated cell. Then promotion is the step by which the initiated cells is getting proliferated and expanded into cancer cell. So that is the promotion of carcinogenesis. Though tumor promoters themselves are not mutagenic, so again they are telling that these promoters are not cause any kind of mutation to DNA. They can cause DNA breaks in some cells, but they are telling that some cells, these promoters can break the DNA by formation of oxygen-derived free radicals, that is ROS. Okay. So yeah, they are last point they are telling that these promoters they don't cause the mutation of the DNA itself, but some cells they can break the DNA by producing free radicals of oxygen. Okay, so this is the 5 marks questions once they have asked, right? You can see this question explain the sequential stages in chemical carcinogenesis. That is for 5 marks, and we are going to discuss about this chemical carcinogenesis, initiation and promotion, and then some more example of chemical carcinogens. Now here we are going to give some more example of chemical carcinogens which leads to cancer. Chemical carcinogens are like initiators of carcinogenesis, which may be direct acting and indirect acting. Direct acting carcinogens can be alkylating agents, acylating agent. Okay, so alkylating agents so if you go to the next semester in pharmacology, you will study about the drugs that are used for the treatment of cancer. Those drugs are called as anti-cancer drugs like cyclophosphamide, chlorambucil, busulfan, milphalan, and nitrosourea. So these are some drugs which are used for the treatment of cancer. So even these are the chemicals which sometimes can lead, they act by donating the alkyl groups, and sometimes this anti-cancer drug itself can lead to cancer by donating the alkyl groups. So one anti-cancer drugs can act as alkylating agents. Second is beta propiolactone epoxides. So these are the 3 types of chemicals which donates the alkyl group and called as alkylating agents, and which can lead to cancer. The second is acylating agents like acetyl imidazole. Okay, and these are the chemicals which donates acyl groups. Now second is indirect acting carcinogens, or also called as procarcinogens. And the example is polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons in tobacco, smoke, fossil fuels, soot, tar, mineral oils, smoked animal foods, industrial and atmospheric pollutants. So these are the substances where it contains polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And the example of that polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are benzoanthracene, benzopyrene, and methyl cholanthrin. So these are the chemicals which contain polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and these are the chemicals which are present in tobacco and all these stuffs. Second, indirect acting carcinogens are aromatic amines and azides like beta-naphthylamine, benzidine azides, then acetyl aminofluorines. These are the aromatic amines. Then naturally occurring products like alpha toxin, beta-1, actinomycin D, mitomycin C, saffrol, and betel nuts. So these betel nuts they put in all this supari and all in tobacco, so that leads to cancer. Then miscellaneous nitroso compounds, vinyl chlorides, asbestos, arsenical compounds, metals like nickel, lead, cobalt, chromiums, insecticides, fungicides, aldrin, dieldrins, and chlorine. So these are actually the examples of the chemicals under direct acting chemical carcinogen and indirect acting chemical carcinogen. Under a direct acting chemical carcinogens, we have alkylating agent and acylating agents. And under indirect acting chemical carcinogens, we have polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, aromatic amines and azides, naturally occurring products, and miscellaneous, and their examples. Then, example of promoters of carcinogenesis: pharmaceuticals, phenols, hormones, estrogens, and drugs, phenobarbital. Then artificial sweeteners like saccharin and cyclamides. So these are the chemicals which can promote initiated cell into the cancer cell. Okay, so this is about the promoters. Now the second is physical carcinogenesis. Okay, so physical agents in carcinogenesis are divided into two groups. The first is radiation. Both ultraviolet light and ionizing radiation is the most important physical agent. So one is radiation, and second is non-radiation physical agent. So physical agent can be radiation and non-radiation. Under radiation, you have ultraviolet and ionizing radiation, and under non-radiation physical agent, it is actually the various forms of injury, and that is less important. So what is important in physical carcinogenesis is ultraviolet and ionizing radiation. Radiation carcinogenesis, ultraviolet light and ionizing radiation are the two main forms of radiation carcinogens which can induce cancer. A property common between the two forms of radiation carcinogens is the presence of carcinogenic effect long after exposure. Means when you get UV exposure or ionizing radiation exposure, then it takes a long time to have a cancer. That is often 10 to 20 years or even later. Okay, so till 10 to 20 years, if you are in exposing these radiations, then it leads to cancer. Also, radiation carcinogens may act to enhance the effect of another carcinogen. So this radiation carcinogen is also increasing the effect of other carcinogens. That is, they may act as co-carcinogens. Ultraviolet light, the main source of UV radiation is the sunlight. Other source can be UV lamps and welder's arc. UV light penetrates the skin for few millimeters only, so that its effect is limited to epidermis. So generally, the If the effect is which can lead to only epidermis cancer. The efficiency of UV light as carcinogens depend upon the extent of light absorbing protective melanin pigmentation of the skin. So generally this UV light is protected by one of the important pigment of the skin, that is melanin pigments. This is the melanin pigments which absorb this UV light. And in humans, excessive exposure to UV rays can cause various forms of skin cancer, like squamous cell carcinoma. Now, what is the carcinoma? That is cancer of epithelial tissues. Then basal cell carcinoma, then malignant melanoma. That is malignant melanoma is the cancer of melanocytes. How this UV cause cancer? UV radiation may have various effects on the cells. The most important is induction of mutation. So again, this UV is causing the mutation. Others are inhibition of cell division, inactivation of enzymes, and sometimes killing of the cells. So these are some effects of UV radiation on cell. The most important biochemical effect of UV radiation is the formation of pyrimidine dimers in DNA. Okay, so this UV radiation is responsible for the formation of pyrimidine dimers, 2-pyrimidine in DNA, but such UV induced DNA damage is normal in normal individual is repaired. So such kind of changes in DNA caused by the UV is actually get repaired. The proof in favor of mutagenic effect of UV radiation comes from recessive hereditary disease characterized by defect in DNA repair mechanism and associated with high incidence of cancer. So generally, the person who is not having the genes which cause the DNA repairs, so those persons DNA damage caused by the UV will not be repaired and it leads to cancer. Examples are again xeroderma pigmentosum is predisposed to skin cancer at younger age, which take place because of the lack of genes which repair the DNA. Then ataxia telangiectasis is the predisposed to leukemia, that is the cancer of blood. Blood syndromes is predisposed to all types of cancer. So this is the way by which UV radiation leads to cancer. The second is ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiations like X-ray, alpha, beta, gamma rays, radioactive isotopes, protons, and neutrons can cause cancer in animals and man. Most frequently, radiation-induced cancer are all form of leukemias, that is blood cancer, and others are cancer of thyroid, skin, breast, lungs, and salivary glands. Evidence in support of carcinogenic role of ionizing radiation is cited in the following example. Higher incidence of radiation dermatitis, that is the cancer of the skin, and subsequent malignant tumors of the skin was noted those who are working in X-ray department. Then high incidence of osteosarcoma, that is the cancer of bone, was observed in young American watch working girls. So some girls were working in the watch industry, and these girls were painting the dials with luminous radium, and that's why our watch gets illuminated in the night because of this painting. So these girls were unknowingly ingested radium while using lips to point their breasts. So whenever these girls were painting the dials, they were sharpening the brush with the lips, but slowly they were able getting this radium ingested into their body, which leads to bone cancer. So that also supports ionizing radiation. The next is miners in radioactive elements have higher incidence of cancers. So those workers who is working in mines for the radioactive elements, they are digging out this, then they have a higher incidence of cancer. Then Japanese atom bomb survivors of the twin city of Hiroshima and Nagasaki after World War II have increased frequency of malignant tumors, notably acute and chronic myeloid leukemias and various uh, solid tumors of breast, colon, thyroid, and lungs. So because of the atomic bomb was attacked on this Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and in that it released a lot of ionizing radiation, alpha, beta, and gamma. And till now, the baby, they keeps getting this different kind of cancer. Mechanism how ionizing radiation induced cancer is not clearly known. Radiation damages the DNA of the cell by one of the two possible mechanisms. First, this ionizing radiation may directly change the cellular DNA. Second, it may dislodge ions from the water. So this ionizing radiation, as the name itself indicating that this is the one radiation which leads to the production of ions. That's why it is called as ionizing radiation. So when this ionizing radiation falls on the water, then the ions will come out from the water, and other molecules also release ions, and this results in the formation of highly reactive free radicals that may bring about the damage. So this how ionizing radiation like alpha, beta, gamma rays is causing cancer by production of ions, and these ions are unstable and highly reactive free radicals. So again they can damage the DNA. Damage to the DNA resulting in mutagenesis is the most important action of ionizing radiation. The effect depends on the number of factors. Now the effect of ionizing radiation actually depends upon the factors such as type of radiation, what is the dose rate, and various host factors such as age, individual susceptibility, immune competence, hormonal influence, and the type of cell who receive this ionizing radiation. So these are the factors on which the cancers caused by the ionizing radiation depends. Then second is non-radiation physical carcinogenesis. So here the mechanical injury to the tissues such as from stones. If you have the stones in the gallbladder, if you have the stones in the urinary tract, and some healed scars following burns or trauma. Has been suggested as the cause of increased risk of carcinoma in these tissues, but evidence is not convincing. So all of you can hear me? I am audible to all of you? Okay, fine. So there are some non-radiation physical carcinogens like the stone in the gallbladder, stones in the urinary tract, and some yield scars following bones trauma has been suggested as the cause of increased risk of carcinoma in these tissues, but the evidence is not there. Other example of physical agents in carcinogenesis are the implants of inert materials such as plastic and glass and foreign bodies. So these are the substances which gets into inside your body or which are in the form of implants can cause tumor development in experimental animals. Like in bone fracture, we get some kind of steel implants. So plastic, glass, and foreign bodies in the form of implants can lead to cancer, and it has been found that in experimental animals it leads to cancer. However, tumorigenesis by these materials in humans are rare, but this non-radiation physical carcinogen has been found to cause cancer in the experimental animals, but for humans it is very rare. Now, third is hormonal carcinogenesis, that is the cancer development because of the hormones. Cancer is more likely to develop in organs and tissues which are always under the influence of hormones. So there are some organs and there are some tissues which always work on the basis of the hormones influence. On cessation of hormone stimulation, such tissues become atrophic. So what happens in those organs and tissues which works always under the presence of hormones? If you stop those hormones, then the tissue's size is going to decrease. That is atrophic. Hormone sensitive tissue developing tumors are like you have the certain organs in your body like breast, endometrium, myometrium, vagina, thyroid, liver, prostate, and testes. So these are the certain organs of your body which are always working under the hormones. Some example of hormones influencing carcinogens in experimental animals and humans are given below. Like estrogen is the one hormone which can lead to cancer. In experimental animals, induction of breast cancer in mice by administration of high dose of estrogen and reduction of the tumor development following oophorectomy is the most important example. So what happened? In experimental mice, if you give the external estrogen, then it leads to the breast cancer. But if you remove the ovary, that is called oophorectomy, then this removal of, because we know that ovary is also producing estrogens and you are also giving estrogen from the outside, so both leads to this more stimulation of the breast leads to cancer. But it was found that when the ovary was removed, so the internal production of estrogens was stopped. So in that case, if you give externally estrogen, then it cannot lead to cancer. In humans, human receiving estrogen therapy and women with estrogen secreting granulosal tumor of the ovary have increased risk of developing endometrial carcinoma. Okay, so the women after 40 years after menopause, they don't release estrogen, so they get estrogen therapy. And if the women's ovary is having the tumors of the granulose cells, which leads to excessive secretion of estrogens, then it can lead to the cancer of endometrium. So that's why we are able to understand that it is the estrogens which can lead to cancer. Then contraceptive hormones, the sequence types of oral contraceptives increase the risk of developing breast cancer. So the women which take these oral contraceptives, they get breast cancer. Women receiving contraceptive pills for long duration can develop benign tumors of liver, because liver is the organ which keeps metabolizing this So generally, the women who is taking contraceptive pills, they develop the cancer of breast and cancer of liver. Then there are some anabolic steroids, like consumption of anabolic steroids by athletes to increase the muscle mass is not only unethical athletic practice, but also increase the risk of developing benign and malignant tumors of liver. Like Salman Khan also he started taking up to make the body anabolic steroids. So taking too much of steroids to increase the performance of athletes can lead to the cancer of liver, because the liver is the one which is metabolizing all these things. Then hormone dependent tumors, induction of hyper function of adenohypophysis is associated with increased risk of developing neoplasia of the target organ. So hyperfunction means too much high function of adenohypophysis. So what is adenohypophysis? Adenohypophysis is same like a pituitary gland connected with hypothalamus. So that connection is called as adenohypophysis. So if it is going to function at higher speed, then it can lead to cancer of the target organs. Okay, so this adenohypophysis they release releasing hormones. So if there is more releasing hormones like thyrotropin releasing hormones, then there is more production of thyroid stimulating hormones by pituitary gland. And if there is more production of thyroid stimulating hormone, then it will go to thyroid glands and stimulate the thyroid glands to produce more thyroid hormones. And because of the continuous stimulation and hyperfunctioning, it can lead to thyroid cancer. So not only thyroid, other target organs. So there is tumor regression on removal of stimulus for the excessive. So the tumor is going to decrease if you remove that stimulus which is causing excessive hormonal secretion. If you can stop the excessive hormonal secretion, then you can reduce the cancer development. The administration of breast cancer. Then thyroid cancer may slow down in growth with administration of thyroxine that suppress the secretion of thyrotropin stimulating and hormone dependent tumors. These are the some 4 situations where the hormones is leading to cancer. Then we have biological carcinogenesis. The most important biological agents which cause the cancer is other agents. Bacteria Helicobacter pylori cause the gastric lymphoma and gastric cancer. But most biological carcinogenesis is actually done by the virus. Biological carcinogenesis is largely viral carcinogenesis, and viral carcinogenesis is of 2 types based on the genetic material. We know that the virus, most of the virus, their genetic material is RNA. So those viruses are called as RNA virus, and some virus their genetic material is called DNA. So those is called as DNA virus. So those virus which DNA genetic material is DNA is called as DNA virus, and that cancer is called as DNA oncogenic virus, and the process is called as DNA oncogenesis. or viral DNA oncogenesis, and this containing reorganic acids are termed as RNA oncogenic virus. So these are example of RNA oncogenic virus like acute transforming virus, slow transforming virus, human T cell lymphotropic virus, hepatitis C virus. So these are the virus whose genetic material is RNA and RNA virus. These are the host and these are the cancer caused by this RNA virus. Then the mechanism of oral oncogenesis, that is viral oncogenesis, how this virus is causing cancer. So in that mechanism of DNA, so generally the virus DNA virus cause the cancer is called as DNA viral oncogenesis, and the virus containing RNA cause the cancer is called as RNA viral oncogenesis. And how these are going to cause cancer? First, there is a replication. Step 1, DNA virus attack the host cell. Step 2, the viral DNA is incorporated in the host nucleus. Like it is the similar mechanism what we discussed in the pathogenesis of AIDS. So if you remember the pathogenesis of AIDS, you can write this easily. Viral DNA is incorporated into the host nucleus and T antigen is expressed immediately after infection. Step 3, replication of viral DNA occurs and other components of variants are formed. The new variants are assembled in the cell nucleus. And step 4, the new variants are released accompanied by host cell lysis. And B is integration. Step 1 and 2 are similar as in replication. Step 3, integration of viral genome into the host cell genome occurs, which requires essential presence of functional T antigen. Then step 4, a transformed that is neoplastic cell is formed. So that is the way by which the DNA virus, that is DNA viral oncogenesis, takes place. That virus DNA is getting incorporated into the host DNA and the changes bring, and that leads to cancer. So the mechanism of RNA viral oncogenesis, here integration and replication of RNA virus in the host cell. Step 1, RNA virus attack the host cell. Viral envelopes fuses with the plasma membrane of host cell. Viral genomes as well as reverse transcriptase are released into the cytoplasm. Reverse transcriptase act as a template to synthesize the single strands of matching viral DNA, which is then copied to form complementary DNA, resulting in double-strand viral DNA. Step 3, the provirus is integrated into the host cell genome, producing transformed host cell, same like pathogenesis of AIDS. Integration of provirus brings about replication of viral components, which are then assembled and released by budding. Okay, friends, so this is all about the carcinogenesis. Okay, so carcinogenesis is 4 types: chemical carcinogenesis, physical carcinogenesis, hormonal carcinogenesis, and biological carcinogenesis. So if this question comes for 10 marks, so you explain all the 4 types. Mostly the contents of chemical carcinogenesis will be more containing initiation and promotion, direct and indirect chemical carcinogenesis. Then you go for the physical carcinogenesis. Physical carcinogen is of 2 types: radiation and non-radiation. Radiation is UV and ionizing radiation, and non-radiation is some kind of mechanical injury. Then third is hormonal carcinogenesis, done by the hormones like estrogen, contraceptive pills, anabolic steroids, and continuous stimulation of the organ by the hormones. Then biological carcinogenesis is mainly caused by virus, and that virus can be of two types, DNA virus and RNA virus. The process of causing cancer by DNA virus is called as DNA oncogenesis or DNA viral oncogenesis, and the cancer caused by the RNA virus is called as RNA viral oncogenesis. And what is the mechanism? It is this mechanism same what we have discussed in AIDS. Like in DNA viral oncogenesis, the DNA of the virus gets incorporated into the DNA of the host, and the change will produced in the host DNA that leads to cancer. Whereas in RNA viral oncogenesis, the reverse transcriptase enzymes will convert the virus RNA into DNA template, and this DNA template then goes and get inserted inside the host DNA, and that's why the change is produced in the host DNA. And once the host DNA is changed, then it's time for the cancer. So students, so this is the way you have to remember this topic, that is called as carcinogenesis. So now it's your time where